I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including a fatal motorcycle accident in Bridgeport, a mystery illness among students at a state university, and much more. Frank Granito will join us with your forecast and a Nutmeg Sports update, and Donald Eng will join us later to take a look back on this day in history. But first, in an update on a story that we brought you Friday, a Norwalk bar has been issued a summary suspension after more than 100 underage drinkers were found there last Thursday. Now, the Department of Consumer Protection suspended Johnny Utah's, located at 80 Washington Street in Norwalk. The establishment must now remain closed until further notice. Now, on April 19th, shortly after 11:30 p.m., the Norwalk Special Services Division and agents from the State Liquor Control Commission arrived at Johnny Utah's and found 103 underage persons at the bar, 93 of which were Fairfield University students. Well, Norwalk Police Chief Thomas Kohalek said in part, "We are pleased that the Department of Consumer Protection suspended Johnny Utah's liquor permit." He went on to say having such a large number of very impressionable and vulnerable young people consuming alcohol is a concern for everyone. He said permittees need to demonstrate that they have an understanding of their responsibilities. And in other news, the Connecticut Post reports that a 20-year-old Bridgeport woman was killed in a motorcycle accident around 7 p.m. on Sunday. Now, that person killed was identified as Miranda Eleni. Now, Danilo Andrade, the motorcycle operator, and that passenger, Miranda Eleni, were traveling south on Park Avenue when he saw a white sedan slowly making a left turn from Olive Street onto Park Avenue. This according to a police spokesman. Now, Andrade reduced his speed, braking several times before slamming into that Dodge Intrepid's driver rear door, police said. Now, both occupants of that motorcycle were ejected, and they were then transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center. Now, Eleni, who had a severe head trauma, succumbed to her injuries. Andrade, who's 31 years old, suffered a bilateral brain bleed and a fractured right wrist. And in other news, Western Connecticut State University is closed today as officials investigate an illness that affected about 100 students. Now, on Friday, officials said that the state school was investigating a viral-like illness on both campuses and that a deep sanitizing would be conducted Saturday and Sunday, including cafeterias. Well, on Sunday, an official decision was made to close today. Now, the statement from the school president read in part, "Although we are aware of a limited number of affected students based on our discussions with the Connecticut Department of Health, the Danbury Department of Health, and Danbury Hospital, as well as the college's Director of Health, they have decided that it's the best and most conservative course of action to protect the university community from infection and the spread of that disease." Now, additionally, they said this will give their professional staff an additional day to further consult with the state and city health officials to determine the next steps. And 19-year-old Jose Diaz of Waterbury was arrested by warrant by Monroe police detectives on April 18th for first-degree larceny in connection with a stolen car. Now, on March 25th at about 9 in the morning, Monroe police officers were dispatched to the complaint of a stolen vehicle on Teller Road. Now, during that investigation, police determined that one vehicle was stolen from the residence and several unlocked vehicles in the neighborhood had been burglarized. Now, the stolen Monroe vehicle was later recovered that night in Waterbury, according to police, adding that the incident is part of an ongoing pattern recently occurring throughout the state. Well, Monroe detectives processed that vehicle and submitted evidence to the Connecticut Forensic Lab for examination. Now, based on that evidence, Diaz was developed as a suspect and a subsequent warrant was obtained for him. Now, he was held on a $20,000 bond for his arraignment at Bridgeport Superior Court on April 19th. And a Darien senior citizen living on Stephanie Lane reported an attempted burglary to police on April 12th. Now, the complainant told police that she first heard activity outside the Bilco doors in the rear of her home sometime after 9 p.m. on April 8th. Now, she told police she heard glass break downstairs and went to investigate, but did not find anything out of the ordinary. However, on April 12th, that victim found broken glass on the floor of her basement. Inspecting further, she saw that the basement window had been broken and the alarm sensor had been tampered with. Now, police checked the home for security. Nothing appeared to be missing, and it looked as though that burglar was not able to access the home. Now, while checking the exterior of the residence, officers observed a set of footprints on top of those Bilko doors. The complainant stated that they were not her footprints. Now, the home does have a security system, but it was not active the night of that incident. The Darien Police Detective Division is continuing to investigate that case. And despite some heavy winds, an estimated 1,000 students walked out of Ridgefield High School classes at 10 a.m. on Friday, and this whole movement was spearheaded by sophomore Lane Murdoch. Now, our own Ridgefield Press was there. Take a look.
Turnout.
I think it's great, and I think that this is happening all over the country shows that we're not going to wait for change, we're going to make it. Yeah.
How many people said they're marching out with you today?
27,000 schools.
Cool.
Okay. Well, I think that's exactly what we expected.
RHS! Who are we? RHS! Who are we? RHS! What do we change? Woo!
Now, that event, staged on the 19th anniversary of the mass shooting at Columbine High School, was a far more politically inclined affair than a similar walkout on March 14th, with students openly calling for reforms to the nation's gun laws. Now, unlike the March 14th walkout, a majority of those students who walked out on Friday remained on the field for the rest of the day and did not return to class. Now, U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal was the event's keynote speaker. Now, there's a lot more on that event and more video at theridgefieldpress.com. Well, in other Ridgefield news, it is a beautiful spring day today, but many towns, including Ridgefield, are still dealing with the costs of winter. Now, snow, ice, and winter storm overtime pay and de-icing compound, the town of Ridgefield piled up more than $600,000 in road costs this winter. Now, almost a third of that came late in the season. Now, the total, according to First Selectman Rudy Marconi, is $619,000. And he said almost $200,000 of that came in March. Now, of course, that's the total winter storm cost for 2017 to 2018, and it relies on the assumption that the town is finished with snow plowing for this year and that there won't be another winter storm requiring the road crew's attention from mid-April to the end of June. There's a lot more on that story at theridgefieldpress.com. And now for more on our beautiful spring weather, let's throw it over to Frank Granito. Frank.
All right, thank you, Kate. Looking at highs around 61 this afternoon. Plenty of sunshine around Fairfield County. We'll see clear to partly cloudy skies overnight and a low of 37. Early morning sunshine tomorrow carries through the first half of the day. Temperatures right around 60 degrees. We'll see increasing cloud cover later on in the day. Possibly a shower in the evening and then on and off rain and drizzle overnight with a low of 48 carrying into Wednesday, which looks like it's going to be a wet day around Fairfield County. Periods of rain throughout the afternoon. It will stay considerably cloudy in the evening and overnight, and there's a chance for 1 or 2 more showers before we hit Thursday morning. That'll do it for this weather update. Let's go back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And we're going to step out for a break. Come back. Donald Ang is back with us to give you a look back on this day in history. Frank Granito has your Nutmeg Sports update, and we have a lot more local news after this.
At Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And right now, during Ram Truck Month, get up to $14,000 off on all in-stock 2017 Ram 1500 pickups. Come in and see us for details. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Ridgefield, PambyZone.com.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? OrthoConnecticut Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, OrthoConnecticut Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 4 locations: Norwalk, Darien, Westport, and Danbury. Go to myorthoct.com, like them on Facebook.
Create your dream home at Laurel Ridge. 3 bedrooms, 2-car garages, finished basements, wooded and lake views, recreation facilities galore. Stay connected to your local lifestyle with the convenience of being just minutes away from Fairfield County. Luxury townhomes that are smart, elegant, custom, and maintenance-free. Create your dream. Welcome back to this April 23rd edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. And back from his spring break is our own Donald Eng to give us a look back on this day in history. Don.
Well, we're back, Kate, and we've got some conflicts around the British Isles to go over today. First, going back to 1016, all the way back, when Edmund Ironside, love that name, succeeds his father, Aethelred the Unready, love that name more, as King of England. Now, Aethelred was so named because he had failed to anticipate the Danish invasion under Sven Forkbeard, who conquered England the year before. But then Sven died, leaving his son Canute on the throne. Edmund fought 5 battles against Canute the Great, going 4-1, and stopping the Danish invasion of Britain. And when he died, he left England under Danish rule for the next 20 years. Now, ironically, Canute the Dane was the most successful English king at repelling Viking raids, although, to be fair, many of those Vikings were also Canute's subjects. English history can get kind of complicated. 1778 now, staying in Britain, John Paul Jones attacks the coastal defense forts at Whitehaven, England, the only fighting in the American Revolution to take place in England. After capturing one of the forts, Jones burned it. The flames spread to the nearby town, which also burned to the ground. Jones then tried to kidnap the Earl of Selkirk to exchange him for American prisoners, but the Earl wasn't home, so Jones and his men stole all his silver, including his teapot, which still had tea in it. Jones would go on to become the Continental Navy's greatest Revolutionary War hero. 1914, the first baseball game at Wrigley Field, then known as Weigman Park in Chicago. Note Eliza Hall there. That's actually a seminary building behind the left field fence. They had to demolish the building's porch to move the fence back. They demolished the building 2 years later. The Chicago Feds of the Federal League were the field's primary tenant. The Cubs didn't begin playing there until 1920. The ivy-covered brick didn't debut until 1937. Finally, now we go to 1985.
George Washington on the dollar bill. Those are among the few constants in a changing world. But now another of those constants may be changing. Coca-Cola is about to announce what it calls the most significant development in its history. James McManus reports.
The formula for Coca-Cola is called Merchandise 7X, a recipe so secret that it's locked inside this Atlanta bank vault, so successful that it's been tinkered with, but never dramatically changed in nearly 100 years. But tomorrow, Coca-Cola Company will tell a thirsty world it's putting a smoother, sweeter taste into the most instantly recognizable bottle. It
was 33 years ago today. Coca-Cola changes its formula, releasing new Coke. The company never admitted it, but it was formulated to taste more like Pepsi, which just over half of tasters preferred in blind tests. Following incredibly negative reception, the original formula was back on the shelf in less than 3 months, but new Coke could still be found on the market in the Midwest as late as 2002. That is your look back in history for today, April 23rd, and I'm Donald Eng.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, in other local news, the Stanford Advocate reports that 5 juveniles were arrested Sunday night for running into a Summer Street movie theater, telling movie patrons to get their hands up before blowing off their cap guns and then running outside. Now, according to a release by Stanford Police Captain Dietrich Hohn, patrons were shaken by the incident, and the juveniles aged 10 to 16 were found around the movie theater soon after. Now, the 3 who fired the cap guns in Bowtie Majestic 6 Theater at about 7:53 p.m. were charged with first-degree reckless endangerment, breach of peace, and conspiracy to commit reckless endangerment, as well as conspiracy to commit breach of peace. Now, the other 2 without the guns were charged with breach of peace and conspiracy to commit breach of peace. And 2 kitchens in Wilton are up for re-inspection by the Wilton Health Department this week after having failed first quarter inspections. Now, the 2 are the Wilton High School cafeteria, where a health-related sign was missing, and Orham's Diner, which had a cooler unit not operating at the proper temperature, according to health inspectors. Now, you can see a full list of the scores of other Wilton restaurants at wiltonbulletin.com. And a program titled Marijuana, Just the Facts will be held in New Canaan Sachs Middle School on Tuesday, May 8th at 7 p.m. Now, the presentation will be led by Dr. Kevin Hill, a marijuana expert from Harvard Medical Center and author of the book Marijuana, The Unbiased Truth About the World's Most Popular Weed. Now, he will be joined in a panel discussion by John Douglas of Silver Hill Hospital, Amy McDonnell of Aware Recovery Care, and John Hamilton of Mountainside. Now, there will be plenty of times for question and answer supervisors at that program. Organizers say that the goal is to provide a better understanding of marijuana in light of the trend towards legalization in Connecticut and conflicting results from clinical studies. Now, co-hosts for the evening are New Canaan's Parent Support Group and New Canaan Cares. More information at ncadvertiser.com. And in other New Canaan news, the town is preparing to acquire, through eminent domain if necessary, a 4-acre property with a 216-year-old home at 1124 Valley Road. Now, First Selectman Kevin Moynihan announced on Thursday, April 19th, that eminent domain is the right of government, of course, to take private property for public use with a payment of compensation. Now, the town's intention is to preserve the land as open space and sign an agreement with the nonprofit organization to preserve and maintain the structure there, Moynihan said. Now, the property is next to the Group Reservoir and the 10.5-acre land trust Brown Wildlife Sanctuary at the north end of Valley Road. Now, according to Moynihan, during his twice-monthly press briefing, the owners of 1124 Valley Road, which is the 1st District Water Department of Norwalk, had been trying to sell that property for a couple years for $1.6 million. Now, they acquired that property in 2006 for $2.25 million. Now, early in 2018, after failing to find a buyer, 1st District Water applied for a permit to demolish the historic Group Nicholas Brown House circa 1802. Now, the New Canaan Historical Review Committee voted on March 1st to impose a 90-day delay on that demolition. There's a lot more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. And one of the many ways that Grace Farms Foundation in New Canaan celebrated Earth Day was to schedule Brian Bradley to give an educational and at times very amusing demonstration on birds of prey. Now, a European eagle owl is imprinted on Bradley and thinks that he is both his mother and father. Now, the owl experts, Bradley offered food when There's a video from Grace Duffield of the New Canaan Advertiser where you can see more. Take a look.
Rewards are an important part of the bird's training system. When they do the things that I ask them to do, whether in an educational situation like this or a falconry situation when they're out there hunting, they expect to be rewarded for their work. And that's what this is. This is work for the bird. When they're flying around out there, we often have romantic notions about flight. Well, keep in mind, flight and freedom are one thing, but for a bird, it's work, and it's hard work out there. So he expects a reward here as well. Now, I'm hiding something from him, and he knows it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to offer him his favorite food of all, a mouse. Yeah, so in my glove I have a mouse. Now, it's not a live mouse, relax.
Now, there's more from that event at ncadvertiser.com. But let's throw it over to Frank Granito now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
All right, big weekend of lacrosse around Fairfield County. Let's start with the #1 team in the nation, the Darien Blue Wave. Extend their win streak to 62 games now. They double up the Wilton Warriors 12-6. Most impressive about that victory, they did it without star attackman Logan McGovern, who sat out with a lower body injury. Really cool day in New Canaan on Saturday as the high school hosted the University of Virginia and Vermont to play a Division I lacrosse game from Dunning Stadium. What a great game it was. Perfect weather, tremendous atmosphere, and the hometown hero Michael Kraus, returning back to New Canaan, scores the game-winning goal with just over a minute 40 left as the Cavaliers knock off the Catamounts 12-11. A lot of support from not only both universities' followings, but the town as well. Tailgates going on outside the stadium. A very cool day to be a part of there. We'll have more on that game and everything from around the FCAC this past weekend at 2 o'clock on Nutmeg Sports. Also want to congratulate Jack DeFrancesco and Brittany Marano of the New Canaan baseball team and the St. Joe's softball team. They are your Week 2 winners for the Spring Athlete of the Week here on the HAN Network. We'll have the Week 3 nominees later on today. For now, we go back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And we are going to step out for a break, come back, and recap some of the top stories we're following today after this.
Now teeing off, Paul Miller from Miller Nissan in Fairfield.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller. What about my new Sentra?
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
He is never going to retire.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
Now teeing off, Paul Miller from Miller Nissan in Fairfield.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller. What about my new Sentra?
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
He is never going to retire.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, recapping some of the top stories we're following today. Now, in an update on a story we brought you Friday, a Norwalk bar has been issued a summary suspension after more than 100 underage drinkers were found there last Thursday. Now, the Department of Consumer Protection suspended Johnny Utah's located at 80 Washington Street. Now, the establishment must remain closed until further notice. Now, on April 19th, shortly after 11:30 at night, the Norwalk Special Services Division and agents from the State Liquor Control Commission arrived at Johnny Utah's and found 103 underage persons in the bar, 93 of which were Fairfield University students. Now, Norwalk Police Chief Thomas Kolhalik said in a statement in part, "We are pleased that the Department of Consumer Protection suspended Johnny Utah's liquor permit." He said having such a large number of very impressionable and vulnerable young people consuming alcohol is a concern for everyone. He said permittees need to demonstrate that they have an understanding of their responsibilities. And the Connecticut Post reports that a 20-year-old Bridgeport woman was killed in a motorcycle accident around 7 p.m. on Sunday. Now, that person was identified as Miranda Elenai. Now, Danilo Andrade, who was the motorcycle operator, and the passenger, Miranda Elenai, were traveling south on Park Avenue when he saw a white sedan slowly making a left turn from Olive Street onto Park Avenue. This according to a police spokesman. Now, Andrade reduced his speed, braking several times before then slamming into that Dodge Intrepid's driver's rear door, police said. Now, both motorcycle occupants were ejected, and then they were both transported to St. Vincent's Medical Center. Now, Elenai, who had severe head trauma, later succumbed to her injuries. Andrade, who's 31 years old, suffered a bilateral brain bleed and a fractured right wrist. And Western Connecticut State University is closed today as officials investigate an illness that affected about 100 students. Now, on Friday, officials say that the state school was investigating a viral-like illness on both campuses and that a deep sanitizing would be conducted Saturday and Sunday, including cafeterias. Well, yesterday, an official decision was made to close today. That statement from the school president read in part, "Although we are aware of a limited number of affected students, based on our discussions with the Connecticut Department of Health, the Danbury Department of Health, as well as Danbury Hospital and the school's Director of Health Services, they've decided that this is the best and most conservative course of action to protect the university community from infection and the spread of disease." Now, additionally, they said this will give our professional staff an additional day to further consult with state and city health officials to determine the next steps. And 19-year-old Jose Diaz of Waterbury was arrested by warrant by Monroe police detectives on April 18th for first-degree larceny in connection with the stolen car. Now, on March 25th, just before 9 a.m., Monroe police officers were dispatched to the complaint of a stolen vehicle on Teller Road. Well, while investigating, police determined that one vehicle was stolen from that residence, and then several unlocked vehicles in that neighborhood had been burglarized. Well, the stolen Monroe vehicle was later recovered just that night in Waterbury, said police, adding that this incident is part of an ongoing pattern recently occurring throughout the state. Now, Monroe detectives processed the vehicle and submitted evidence to the Connecticut Forensic Lab for examination. Based upon the submitted evidence, Diaz was developed as a suspect and then a warrant was obtained. Now, he was held on a $20,000 bond and was arraigned in Bridgeport Superior Court on April 19th. And a Darien senior citizen living on Stephanie Lane reported an attempted burglary to police that happened on April 12th. Now, the complainant told police that she first heard activity outside the Bilco doors in the rear of her home sometime after 9 p.m. on April 8th. She told police she heard glass break downstairs and she went to investigate but didn't find anything out of the ordinary. However, on April 12th, that victim found broken glass on the floor of her basement. Inspecting further, she saw that the basement window had been broken and the alarm sensor had been tampered with. While police checked the home for security, nothing appeared to be missing, and it looks as if that burglar was not able to access the home. Now, while checking the exterior of the residence, officers did see a set of footprints on top of those Bilco doors, and the complainant stated that they were not her footprints. Now, the home does have a security system, but it was not active on the night of that incident. Darien police detectives are continuing to investigate that case. All right, let's get one final look at your forecast with Frank Granito. Frank.
All right, thank you, Kate. Again, we're looking at a mostly sunny day around Fairfield County. So you get a great look out there at Route 8 right now. Temperatures up in the low 60s, and it'll be falling down to around 40 degrees overnight. Early morning sunshine tomorrow, highs of around 58, 59. We'll see increasing cloud cover later in the day. Chance for a shower in the evening, and then on and off periods of rain overnight. Carrying into Wednesday, you'll have periods of rain throughout the day. A high of 55. Cloudy again overnight, possibly one or two more showers before Thursday morning, but things should start to clear up again on the back half of the week and into next weekend. We're back at 2 o'clock. Cole and myself with Nutmeg Sports. For now, though, we'll go back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And we're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break. As Frank said, 2 o'clock, Nutmeg Sports. And we will see you tomorrow with the latest local news and more. Enjoy the beautiful day.